Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen. And Ms. Riska, can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Mr.
Yes, here.
Present.
Mr. Radke?
Present.
Present.
Here.
Present.
Thank you, Council. We need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First item on our agenda tonight is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you very much, Mayor. You heard at our budget hearing last week all the technology improvements that the city's been initiating over the years, especially over recent years, some of which are under the umbrella of our AI task force that has been established. And this evening, we wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the technology that we're implementing across departments, including the library. So with us this evening is our library director, Tammy Turgeon, who's going to highlight a new and exciting program that's been underway over the past year and that is working very well. So I'd like to introduce Tammy.
Good evening, Mayor Taylor, members of City Council, Mr. Vanderpool, Mr. Kashubsky, and residents. As the Library Director, I'm excited to highlight one of the Sterling Heights Public Library's newest services, our Library Chat. Our Library Chat service is staffed by Unique, which is a library vendor, and the service connects patrons to the library in a new way. It doesn't replace our amazing dedicated staff. What it does do is provide staff with the time to focus on serving residents who are in the building, as well as provide residents who are not in the building with a fast and easy way to interact with the library. So questions that are handled through the service include those about circulation, getting a library card, programs, meeting room reservations, location information, assistance with accessing our digital materials, and basic catalog searches. And we are the first library in Macomb County to provide Unique's chat service. So we started this service in November of 22, and each month I receive a report that details the number of chats by time period and the types of questions that are answered. So this example is from January of this year and shows that Tuesdays between noon and 2 is the most popular time, meaning maybe people are on their lunch breaks and wanting to check out the library. Now this example is also from January 2024, and it shows the most common questions that are related to the patron's library account. And the second most were related to getting a library card and if the patron is eligible. So I'm now going to show you a demo of the chat service. I'm going to try and do this live, so we'll see how it goes. But what you're going to do is you're going to go to our webpage, www.shpl.net, and you're going to see in the bottom right corner, need help. There's a little chat box here, and you can click on that, and you're going to get the box to enter your question. So it says, hello, how can I help you? And you're going to enter your question in here. I'm going to ask them, do you own Fourth Wing? So I know I'm waiting for that book, so I'm just going to see if they say that we have it. You see right on the screen, while we're waiting for a response, as I mentioned earlier, the service is provided by Unique staff. So there are actual humans on this system. I assume they are using fake names. So this is its page. She'd be happy to check out the catalog for that title. One moment, please. So what the system does is that the Sterling Heights Library had to fill out a lot of paperwork to give that staff information about the library, our policies, how we do things, our hours, location, access to our catalog, and then they're able to use that knowledge base to answer patrons' questions. So by providing this service, we're able to expand our service hours. We're also reducing the number of calls and emails that our staff have to handle. And patrons that are able to use this service, they can do it in over 130 languages. Unique staff uses the auto translate feature, so hopefully they can assist those that are more comfortable communicating in other languages. So the staff person said, thanks for waiting. We do have 29 copies. However, they're all checked out because everyone wants to read this book. I can join the waiting list by clicking on the place holds here. And if I click on this link, then I will go to the library's catalog and be able to make a reservation on that book. So I didn't have to look it up myself. Someone else did it for me. And it's, again, not replacing if someone wants to call the library, if they want to email someone, they can do that too. It just provides a quick and easy way. They can go right on our website and go to our chat. I'm just gonna say thank you. This service is available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I'm gonna bring up my PowerPoint again. 8 to 11, Monday through Friday, Saturdays 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sundays 12 to 9 p.m. This service is also great because it meets patrons where they are. So it's available on our website. It's also available on our app, which is the SLC Libraries mobile app that you can download. So I just kind of gave you just a little short highlight, and feel free to, get on our website, try out the chat, try asking it questions. I look forward to getting some feedback from you, but it is well used. Our patrons, we get about 150 chats a month. And before I go, I wanted to mention that we have our Human Library event that's scheduled for tomorrow from 6 to 9 p.m. at the library. It's an event co-sponsored with the Community Alliance. We work with a company or a nonprofit called the Human Library based in Denmark. The goal of the Human Library is to strengthen understanding and kindness in our community by helping residents unjudge someone through one-on-one conversations. People who someone may not normally talk to in their daily lives are published as open books for conversations about their unique life experiences. So you actually can come to the library and you can check out our human books for 20-minute conversations. We're going to have books with the titles of autism, Muslim woman, transgender, physical disability, Asian American immigrant, long-term addiction recovery, and transnational adoptee. So readers are encouraged to engage in curious and courageous conversations with these human books that are all volunteers from our community. And if you're interested in attending, you can go to the city's website at sterlingheights.gov, scroll down to the trending section. You'll see a link to the story about the program, and then you can see a link to register. So I just want to thank you for providing me with the opportunity to speak with you tonight about the Sterling Heights Public Library, where our vision is an engaged community where all can discover, learn, and grow.
And thank you, Mayor. And again, I wanted to compliment Director Turgeon and her entire team for the good work they're doing in the library. We just had an event before, which again was very impressive. So it's a wonderful service and certainly adds to our quality of life in Sterling Heights. And Mayor, continuing on with another special presentation, I'm pleased to continue my report recognizing or introducing the chairman of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, who's with us this evening, who's going to talk about some of the redistricting efforts that will impact Sterling Heights. And just a little background on Chairman Eid. He applied for the Redistricting Commission for two primary reasons: to provide a nonpartisan, data and evidence-driven approach to redistricting, provide diversity of thought and culture and age to the commission, and two, to create maps that represent the people of Michigan and ensure free and fair elections. Chairman Eid has 2 bachelor degrees from Wayne State and a master's degree. He's completed 2 years of medical school and hopes to become an orthopedic surgeon when his term is done on the Redistricting Commission. So we're pleased to have Chairman Eid with us this evening.
Well, thank you for that beautiful introduction, Mr. Vanderpool. Hello, Sterling Heights. Thank you for having me in today. I spend little bit of time here. I have a lot of friends and family that live here on the east side, as we call it, back where I grew up in West Bloomfield. So it's a pleasure to be here. This little presentation with me today, but really the big call to action is to have you folks let your constituents know about the upcoming Senate district redraw so the redistricting commission can get public input from the city of Sterling Heights. It's an important city that is going to be affected in the Senate district redraw, and the only way for the commission to get this redraw done right is to hear from the regular, everyday citizens of the community to hear about how y'all think these districts should be drawn. Let's do a little bit of history first. Some of you may know that in 2018, there was a grassroots ballot proposal from an organization called Voters Not Politicians that took the power to do redistricting away from the legislature in Lansing and into the hands of an independent redistricting commission. That created us, the MICRC, that passed in 2018 by I think about a 63% margin. Pretty successful ballot initiative. And we came about in about 2020. The commissioners were randomly selected. I was one of the, well, I mean, lucky or unlucky, depending on who you ask, folks that were selected. And we've been at work since. So we got 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and 5 independents on the commission. I'm one of the independents. And we're responsible for creating Michigan's 13 congressional U.S. Congress districts, 110 state House districts, and 38 state Senate districts. Our core values are integrity, respect, transparency, and purposefulness. Probably the most important one of these is transparency. You know, back in the old way that redistricting was done, and also still in most places around the country, redistricting is usually done behind closed doors in a state capitol with next to no public input and done in a way for the, usually for the politicians to benefit themselves. Whereas today in Michigan, we have this independent redistricting commission where all of our meetings are live streamed on YouTube. We have public comment at each and every one of our meetings, and all of the meetings are archived for 10 plus years. You know, you can go on our YouTube channel right now and see all of our meetings from the random drawing where the commissioners were selected up until the meeting we had last Thursday. Here are the commissioners. Like I said, there's 13 of us. You know, diverse group, different ages, different genders, different races and whatnot. And, you know, it's a pretty good group. We work together pretty well, I think, you know, growing pains aside, but we're trying to get the job done. So you might ask, like, what is redistricting, right? I'm sure you folks know, but for the public who may not, it's done every 10 years based on the U.S. Census. And it's done basically because folks move, people leave the state, people are born, people pass away, and we have the right of one person, one vote in this country, so we need to make sure that these districts reflect that in terms of population and then in terms of the Michigan redistricting criteria, which is what you see on screen now. We have 7 criteria that we draw these districts on. The first 2 are federal criteria, making sure that the districts have equal size in terms of population and follow the Voting Rights Act, making sure that they're geographically contiguous, meaning that they have to be connected in some way. You can't have Sterling Heights and West Bloomfield connected to each other, like just be 2 islands without them being connected to each other. They have to be connected by at least a road. The 3rd and 4th criteria are where Michigan is a little unique. These 2 criteria are higher in Michigan than they are in pretty much any other state around our country. And they are communities of interest and partisan fairness. And this 3rd criteria, communities of interest, is really where we need the citizens of Sterling Heights and broadly the citizens across our state to come out and let us know what is your community of interest out here in Sterling Heights. This can range from different cultural communities, communities that share some sort of historic fabric, communities that share maybe the same socioeconomical issue, and things like that, that really weave communities together, even if that community might not, you know, live per se in one, you know, tight-knit block. For example, in Sterling Heights, you have a very large Chaldean community out here, and that would be, in my opinion, an example of a community of interest, but there are plenty of others that we need to hear from as well. After that, you get into some of the more traditional redistricting criteria, things like city, township, and county lines, compactness, and stuff like that. In Michigan now, those are lower prioritized than the criteria that are higher on this list. This is in rank order, so the top criteria take precedent over the lower rank criteria. According to the last census, Michigan has around 10 million people. This gave us 13 congressional districts, each of which have about 775,000 people. And then we always have 110 House seats and 38 Senate seats. If you do the math, if you divide 110 million by about 110 or by about 38, you get around 90,000 people per House district and around 270,000 people per Senate district. We're going to be redrawing the Senate maps coming up, and that's the number we need to hit, 265,200 people per district, give or take. There's a small plus minus percentage in there, but that's around where we have to hit. So Sterling Heights, I believe, has what, around 100,000 people, maybe a little less?
135,000.
134.
134, perfect. So what y'all need to think about is, how do you get from 134 to 270? What communities do you think are similar to Sterling Heights and should be grouped together with Sterling Heights in a Senate district? What communities do you think maybe aren't so similar to Sterling Heights and shouldn't be included in a Senate district, right? Those are the kind of questions the redistricting commission's asking. That's what we need to hear from the public about. Back in 2022, we approved our first set of House plans, the Hickory House map, the Linden Senate map, and the Chestnut Congressional plan. These three plans were used in the 2022 election. And you can see them on screen. We were then sued by pretty much everyone. We were sued by Republicans and Democrats alike, 4 different lawsuits. We won 3 of them. We lost this last one. You may have seen it in the news. And that last lawsuit said that we have to redraw 7 House districts and 6 Senate districts. Now, the commission has already finished redrawing our remedial House plan. It affected districts 1, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, and 14. The commission did that. We created the Motown Sound map, and that map has been approved by the court and will be in play for the upcoming 2024 election in Michigan, including the August primary and the November general. Now, those 7 districts, they didn't affect Sterling Heights that much. You can see them on the screen here. They're mostly around Metro Detroit, really Detroit proper. And while we only had to redraw 7 districts, we ended up changing 15 because I kind of like to think of it like you're putting together a puzzle, right? If you have a whole completed 110-piece puzzle and you just take out 7 pieces, it's hard to make a complete puzzle without changing some of the surrounding pieces to the 7 pieces that you removed. So for the House, while we only had to change 7, we ended up changing 15. And those are up here. Now, Sterling Heights is located right at the top. It was right outside of the area that the court said we have to change. So the Sterling Heights districts for that Michigan House went unchanged, and it will be the same districts in 2024 that were used in 2022. And if you want a reminder, that is mainly comprised of the 57th House District, which is on screen now, and the 58th House District, which is on screen now. So those went unchanged. It's the same House districts as what was in play for the 2022 election. What will most likely affect Sterling Heights in a greater capacity is the Senate districts. We have to redraw Senate districts 1, 6, 8, 3, 10, and 11. District 10 goes through Sterling Heights. And while the court did not say we have to redraw District 9, as you just saw with the House districts, because it touches Districts 3 and 10, we might need to reconfigure that a little bit as well. So it is likely that the Senate redraw will affect this city in some way, which is why we need people to come out and provide public comment. We're looking for comments to engage with the public. We just actually, earlier today, got approval from the court on our schedule. We're going to be starting this process in earnest on April 23rd. We have virtual meetings April 23rd, 24th, 25th, pretty much April 23rd to April 30th. Those meetings are going to be pretty much all day, and they're over Zoom. Folks, we have public comment at each one of these meetings. Folks can come in and let us know over Zoom how they want these districts to be drawn from the comfort of their own home, if they like. After that initial map drawing phase, where the commission is going to start our work, we have 3 in-person public hearings, one of which is going to be in Wayne County, one is going to be in Oakland County, and one is going to be here in Macomb County. Most likely, this isn't confirmed yet, but most likely at one of the Macomb community centers around Warren. But those dates are going to be May 7th, May 8th, and May 9th. The commission's going to be available all day in person, and that's going to be the public's chance to come let us know in person how you want these districts drawn. After that, we're going to take the feedback we receive and tailor the maps a little bit more depending on the public comment that we get, because I don't think they're going to say, oh, hey, these maps are great, you shouldn't change anything. Sure, we're going to get some constructive criticism, I hope we do, in order to improve the product. And we will then have more public meetings June 11th, 10th, June 11th, June 12th, and June 13th. Those are most likely to be centered around Detroit public high schools to get some more local engagement. But, you know, if you guys would like to request a meeting, I'm sure we can try to accommodate a town hall or something like that, if your citizens would like. And then finally, the commission will be submitting a map on June 27th of this year, and the court will be assessing that map by July 26th. So July 26th is the final day where we should know what the Senate maps for the 2026 Senate election look like. All of this information, as well as our YouTube channel, as well as our public comment tool, where people can submit comment to us in writing, or even submit a map to us in writing, can be found on our website, www.michigan.gov/MICRC. Again, that's /MICRC. At that website, you can, like I said, view all of our meetings, try to participate in public comment with the commission, and just pretty much keep updated on the work that we are doing. If there are any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Council, anyone have any questions? If not, thank you. We appreciate you being here and providing the information. It's obviously very topical and important for our residents, so we appreciate you taking the time tonight to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please get your people out to us. We really want to hear from the regular, everyday people of this city. We're the first independent redistricting commission in Michigan. There are growing pains. We're actually only the 3rd in the whole country. So we're trying to get it right, but we can only do it with public input. So please get the word out there, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Mr. Vanderpool.
And Mayor, I have just a couple more items, and they're brief. First, just a reminder that our Shine Cleanup Day will be on May 4th at First Church of Sterling Heights, located at 39400 DeQuinder Road. So that's at 9:30 a.m. We typically have about 50 volunteers that help out with this, and we go out and clean up anywhere from 25, 30 homes across the community. Typically, each team is assigned 2 homes, and it's everything from mowing grass to cutting shrubbery and raking leaves and just getting communities looking nice at homes where people just are not able to do it on their own. They may have some sort of financial hardship. They may have a mobility limitation of some sort. We help them out through our volunteer corps. So again, that's May 4th. We're always looking for volunteers, so if you know of anyone, especially youngsters, we need horsepower. We'd love to have them there on May 4th, beginning at 9:30 a.m. And I want to close on a really positive note. On the consent agenda today, the City Council is approving park improvements. One is at Mark Sawyer's Family Park, and there's going to be pathway extensions there, and The park's going to look even nicer when this is done. It's already a fabulous park, but this will be a really nice improvement to the Mark Sawyer's Park. And then most excitingly is the fact we're adding an additional pickleball court at Magnolia Park. We cannot build these quick enough. They are so popular. It is the rage now with individuals of any age group. So this will be at Magnolia Park. We already have one there now. We're going to be redoing that and then adding a second. So that's between, let's see, Mound and Dequinder right off Metro Parkway. So look forward to those improvements. And Mayor, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. The next item on our agenda is an ordinance adoption. This is to consider adoption of an ordinance to regulate pneumatic guns as permitted by state law. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Sarowski.
resolved to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 35 of the City Code to provide regulations for pneumatic guns.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Just very briefly, thank you, Mayor Taylor. I just, we went through this pretty in-depth at the last meeting that we had this brought to our attention, and I just wanted to say I'm in full favor of this. I just don't want to see anyone unnecessarily accosted, hurt by anyone in law enforcement using a pneumatic gun. My kids have used them for years. I'm sure I still have BBs all over my house and carpets. And I'm just in favor of making sure that we use them properly and that keep the kids who do use them, or even the adults that use them, safe. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Sarowski. And council, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Yanis.
just one question through the chair to the city attorney. In light of what happened in Oxford and the court cases with the parents, under this law, should a parent purchase one of these guns for a child and the child seriously injures another person or is caught hunting within our city borders, which is against our ordinance, would the parents suffer any legal consequences?
Mr. Koszewski.
That's a great question, Councilman Yanis.
That's why I asked it, sir.
Yeah, that's a good one. So the Oxford case obviously is a unique situation with parents and a weapon that was used for a mass shooting that a prosecutor took a look at and applied a law to bring those individuals to justice. With that stated, here it's prohibiting anyone under the age of 16 from having a gun, so the parent could be held responsible and ticketed for it to the extent that the local prosecutor or the county, depending on what the crime was, decided to implement those proceedings. Whether or not the parent will be found responsible is a question of the facts of the case.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Council, anyone else? No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the consent agenda. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on any item on tonight's consent agenda? Mr. Smith?
We're moving right along with the agenda. One of the items on the consent agenda, I noticed a lot of the consent agenda items had dollar amounts in them that were amounts of money that the city has come to consider trivial. But there's one item here, we're giving a tax abatement, a full tax break to somebody that's expanding his business, $4.6 million expansion of an existing business that there's no chance of him leaving town. And it's not like we're in competition with Tennessee or Oklahoma or someplace for a business. It's a business here anyway, so letting this guy off scot-free on taxes is of no benefit whatsoever, other than to our consultant that's a tax break jockey that makes his living by brokering tax breaks. But anyway, I took this, I'd like to put this on screen if you don't mind. This is not my artwork. This is something freshly downloaded off the city's website from the agenda package. And I got this upside, well, yes, what's upside down, upside right, I guess it doesn't really matter. But I guess this red square is this area of increased development. And you see the garden spot that Sterling Heights is, was some of this aerial photograph. There's not one tree or a blade of grass in the entire photograph. I have to bring up to Mr. Radke that's very conscious about vegetation and sustainability and environmentalism. Here, the city has allowed this entire area to be paved with asphalt to store unsaleable units. I take it these are Ford or Chrysler products that were built that couldn't be marketed that are being stored here. I guess we talk about excess parking. Well, that's kind of what goes on. But here's this little garden spot, this little badland here that's going to be developed, and I don't really think it could be anything but industrial. And if you made the guy pay his taxes, he'd still be there. So here we go. Go ahead. Let's give you in focus. Come on, we can do that. So I'm sure this guy's going to get his tax break anyway, but I'm just going to go on record that this is $4.6 million in taxable profit that's being given away just because we can, because we hire a tax break consultant that makes $300 grand a year in fees and commissions to broker tax breaks, and brokering tax breaks is what little tax break dudes do, and that's what he's done. So this is money out of our pocket. That this is going to create industrial traffic that brings heavy vehicles on the road, pulverizes the streets and turns them into gravel, and we have to fix them with our millage, but this guy's not paying any millage at all. And personally, I just soon have him take his business elsewhere if he's going to come to Sterling Heights and run a business and not pay tax. So I'd like to, I'm sure we won't say anything, you'll just give it to him like you always do, but I'm going to go on record as saying this is not good for the people of Sterling Heights. If we got to have industry, the downside of industry, fine, at least get the taxes from them. This is absolutely foolish, and it should not be accepted.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Smith. And I like your shirt today, Paul. Very nice.
I'll go on to that later, but.
Okay. We have something to look forward to. Anything else on the consent agenda? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item up tonight is a consideration item, and this is to accept a proposal by Hubble, Roth, and Clark Incorporated for professional services to complete a comprehensive transportation safety action plan. The total cost of $510,000, 80% funded through a Federal Highway Administration grant. We have a presentation from our city engineer, Brent Bayshaw. And Brent, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll do a brief introduction. I'm going to
Okay.
introduce HRC. So just wanted to say in short, at our February 20th council meeting, we talked about a Safe Streets for All federal grant and the comprehensive transportation safety action plan that we were going to have created. Those three main components, the review of city roads for a Vision Zero plan, reimagining Ryan Road, and then to create and study traffic calming plan. So since that time, we had a request for proposals sent out. We had 4 proposals received. They were scored and reviewed, and all the firms interviewed by our subcommittee of our traffic group. And HRC scored the highest score, and we are recommending them for award. So HRC is a large firm. They created a team of engineers, planners, and public engagement personnel to complete this plan. And some highlights of their proposal are they've already completed a Safe Streets for Action Plan for Kalamazoo County. They were hired by MDOT to create their most recent Michigan Highway Safety Improvement Plan and also the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, and this is the basis of the MDOT Vision Zero Plan. They've recently completed a traffic calming and safety of neighborhood streets program for the city of Southfield, which is similar to the third part of our study. And they've also had extensive experience with road diets, multimodal studies, including pathways, pedestrian safety, bicycle studies. And to name the few that, I thought were relevant and important was the Grand Rapids Bicycle Action Plan, the Grand Rapids Pedestrian Crossing Safety Enhancement Program, which HRC won awards for, the Evergreen Road Diet Study, Ypsilanti Road Diet and Capacity Study, Coolidge Highway Diet or Road Diet Study, and also Ann Arbor Cycle Path Design. So lastly, HRC has a strong relationship with our partner and grant recipient, Macomb County Department of Roads. And remember, we are a sub-recipient of the grant. And they also have a working relationship with their hired consultant, Kimley Horn. So without further ado, here from HRC is Mike McDonald, who's led many projects here in the city of Sterling Heights for HRC. But the lead on this project will be Leah Michaels, who runs HRC's traffic team. And she will be the project lead for this study as well. So sorry for the long introduction, Leah, but take it away.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. It's great to be here. I'm really excited about this project. So as Brett mentioned, I'm an associate at HRC. I'm in charge of our traffic department. I've been there for 16 years. So I'm going to kind of go through just a couple items, give you some samples of some stuff we've done, and kind of talk about all the things we're looking forward to possibly working with the city on with this project. So as Brett mentioned, there's kind of three parts to this project. The first one being the Comprehensive Transportation Safety Action Plan, which is really the city's Vision Zero plan. So this is something that I personally am very interested in, something I'm very passionate about, are working on these plans for the state, for local communities, trying to get us towards zero deaths in the state of Michigan and really eliminate all serious injuries and fatalities on our roadways. So something I'm very interested in working on, as is the rest of our staff that we have assigned to this project. The second part is the Ryan Road, reimagining Ryan Road from 14 Mile up to M59. And then the third part is working on a neighborhood traffic calming plan to assist with a lot of the local roads in the city. So I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple of the projects that Brett mentioned. These are recent jobs that we've done for other communities that are very similar to what we'll be doing here in the city of Sterling Heights. The first one on the left is the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. This is the Vision Zero plan for the state of Michigan. We were hired by the Michigan Department of Transportation to help put together this 3-year plan. They revisit it every 3 years. This one in particular had a lot of rebranding in it, making it very public-facing, something that the public could understand better, and it has a lot of the concepts that will be applied to the city's plan. The one on the right is the Road Commission of Kalamazoo County. We just finished their action plan in December, last December. So again, follows all of the requirements in the Safe Street for All grant. So we've kind of been through one of these plans for another local community and would apply a lot of those similar concepts to the city. And the third one is a neighborhood traffic calming plan that we're just wrapping up with the city of Southfield, a nearby community with a lot of similar issues and items that can apply to the city. So the first part is our Vision Zero plan for the city of Sterling Heights. This plan will take in consideration the 5 E's of safety, which are pretty known things: engineering, education, enforcement, emergency response, and equity. Another area that we'll be looking at is a safe systems approach, and this is a proactive approach in sharing our responsibility of safety with everyone. So this is a strategy that we use to get towards our zero goal of 0 fatalities and serious injuries on all Michigan roadways, and specifically in the city of Sterling Heights. So part of this plan will include some toolkits, will include some specific areas that the city, we would consider for the city moving forward. This is just a sample for one of the plans that we recently did about crosswalk visibility. And I know the city is looking to implement these already in some locations. So the plan would kind of dig deeper into some of these different countermeasures that can be used to improve safety. Specifically, we're noting a non-motorized pedestrian safety at crosswalks, adding illuminated lighting to make those more visible. So the plan itself would go through various countermeasures like this, tailored to the city's needs. And we would note specific locations where this could apply, as well as provide the safety benefit for these and some estimated costs that would go along with it. One of the main goals of this would be to set the city up to have a plan for future safety projects that can be implemented, that can be constructed to get the city towards zero deaths. A portion of this plan is going to include engagement and collaboration. On the screen, we've just provided some samples of some recent projects and ways that we've performed engagement. And we can tailor this to the city's needs, whether it be through a website where we can gain input from people that way, as well as having some in-person meetings. I know the city is going through their master plan process right now, so possibly coupling with those already planned public engagement opportunities. It'll be great to kind of piggyback on that and really get the feedback that we want from the public to make this a successful plan for the city. So moving on to the second item is reimagining Ryan Road. So this is, again, from 14 Mile up to M59, really focusing on making this a more non-motorized friendly route, not just a north-south thoroughfare for vehicles, but looking at what reductions in lanes would look like, how we can possibly fit bike lanes, pedestrian crosswalk enhancements, the possibility of roundabouts or signals. So it'll really focus on reimagining Ryan Road and what we can do to that corridor to really meet the needs of the cities and what they would like to see that road look like in the future. And then the third item of this is the traffic calming plan. These are just some samples from other plans that we've done of various items that could be incorporated into your plan. We're showing some horizontal deflection items, which could be possibly putting in roundabouts, chicanes, narrowing down the lane widths, some vertical items, which could be speed bumps, speed humps, speed tables, possibly closing some roads, doing different road closures, and then the last item being some visibility improvements, which could be anything from pavement markings to speed limit changes to sign upgrades and those sorts. So just a couple options for things that we would work with the city on to and really tailor this plan to meet the city's needs and what the city wants to see going forward for your neighborhood streets. This plan would really set up city staff and also provide good information for residents so they understand what the city is interested in doing, how they can pursue things, and give the staff really a plan to follow to be consistent and some pilot projects possibly to try out throughout the city. So I was told I have 5 minutes, so I went very quickly through some of the key highlights of what we like to do. So again, I'm Leah Michaels and really excited about this opportunity, and I hope to be able to work with you guys over the next year and really help develop this Vision Zero plan for the city.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Very comprehensive and thorough, and I wasn't keeping track of time, so I think you're all right. As Mr. Smith said, we're clicking through the meeting tonight quickly, so. Mr. Bayshaw, anything else?
Nothing further aside from the fact that, we have started implementing a lot of these measures already. On the consent agenda this evening was safety improvements across Stevenson High School that we've been working with Utica Community Schools about, and the consent item was the agreement. So we're very excited to make those improvements and make that safer. We've had other pedestrian crossings we've put in as well. So this is a great expansion of things that we've already begun and things that we want to implement this summer as a trial basis as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to go to the audience and get any comments that they might have when we're deliberating. I'm sure some of the council members will have some questions or comments, and we'll call you back up then. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Michaels. All right, so I'll turn to the audience now. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? Mr. Smith?
Well, I guess in my career, I've seen a lot of studies done by a lot of consultants. And I've never seen a study done by a consultant where the consultant doesn't come back with exactly 100% of what the patron paid him to come back with. The consultant is paid to come back with what the mayor and the city manager want him to come back with. So we're going to pay $510,000 for a document that these guys can treat like a Bible, like the 10 Commandments from heaven. Oh, we got the study. Oh, it's $100 million. Well, it's in the study. See, it's in the study. We got to spend it because it's in the study. Well, Mr. Taylor and Mr. Vanderpool, if you want something, just be a man and stand up and say what you want and don't hide behind this study. Okay, so they've sold a study to Southfield and Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo. So we're going to get that same study with Sterling Heights pasted on the cover, and whatever the main street was in Southfield and Grand Rapids, we're going to have Ryan Road pasted over it, and we're going to get the same study as before. This is absolutely money for nothing. Nothing other than a document that these guys can treat like the Bible and say, oh, study, 100 million, 300 million, the study says it, we got to spend it. We got to spend it. For this kind of money, there's thousands of people in Sterling Heights who can tell you where the potholes are and the sunken manholes and missing sidewalks, dirt roads that haven't been repaved. So we got to pay $510,000 for this very competent consultant that's very good at selling these studies to sell us a study like this. Absolutely ridiculous. But at least it's got, what, reinventing, exciting, sustainability, DEI, calming. You know, it's got the whole laundry list of buzzwords. And what are we going to say? We're going to say we're going to do the same thing we did everybody else, 510 grand to the bad. So they say, well, it's just conspiracy theory, Mr. Smith. Well, to me, conspiracy theory is a theory that you just made up out of thin air. The $510,000, I didn't make that up. I didn't make up this money number. That's a real number. That's not imaginary. We're paying not only, I mean, the way the city spends money, hiring a DEI administrator, hiring social workers, building a massive clubhouse for public works to hang out in. The way city spends money, $510,000 is pocket change. It's not, the $510,000 isn't the issue. The issue is that they're going to use this document and they say, we got the study, we got to spend the money because this study, it came down from God. It's the 10 Commandments. This consultant says we need it, so we're going to have it. So the $500,000, they blow out $500,000 every day and think nothing of it. But, you know, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. I can't stop it. But since you asked, this is Honest John. It was an Army artillery missile, 1955 through 1990. They built 7,000 units. They never fired one in a war. It's too bad they scrapped it out because we could have given them to Israel. They would have made a heck of a difference. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Yes, ma'am, I'll take. Yes, you do.
Well, I just happen to live on Ryan Road.
Do you mind moving the microphone down just a little bit so it's
Oh, I
closer?
speak quite loudly. I do happen to live on Ryan Road. I don't understand, this is my first time at a meeting, so please bear with me. I don't understand what improvements need to be made. Mr. Smith, I agree, $500,000 is a lot of money to spend. And Ryan Road, I've been traveling that since I've been back to Michigan for 22 years, and it seems fine for me. So that's my comment. Take it for whatever you want.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Nelson.
Ken Nelson, Firesteel Drive. I just want to make sure in this study, the things that I've heard from the council and the city manager in the past with the traffic calming, and we saw what happened in, where was it, East Point, where they took 9 Mile Road and took a lane out, and it wasn't real thought out, but they had to spend the money for their ARPA money. So they approved it, now they're doing it, nobody's happy. The other thing is the road diets. We talked in the past about possibly the area going into Utica and Van Dyke, losing a lane in each direction so we can have bicycles down it. Not a good idea. If you're there 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, that traffic is backed up the other side of Utica. So I want to make sure that we need more roads. We need to understand that we have a unique road structure in Sterling Heights. And basically, a third of Sterling Heights is cut off by the Clinton River. We don't have the same number of north-south and east-west roads. Just want to make sure all that is taken into consideration. I also like the idea of the crosswalks and the lighted crosswalks. Shelby Township has done that, and it's made a big difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Anyone else on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarko.
resolve to accept the proposal by Hubble, Roth, and Clark Incorporated, 555 Hewlett Drive, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, 48302, for professional consulting services to complete a comprehensive transportation safety action plan and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement for professional services on behalf of the city.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mrs. Zarko?
I think that the presentation is exactly what we are voting on, what we've asked for to move the city forward. So as far as some of the traffic problems that that we do have, that hopefully you'll help us resolve. So I'm in favor of this, and I think they went through the bid process like everybody else. They came up with the best presentation. They certainly have a track record. We've used the company before, so I'm in favor of this particular expenditure.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Schmidt, anything?
Just briefly, Mayor, through the chair to Ms. Michaels, if you could come up, could you tell me what the time frame we're talking about before the report is complete?
Yeah, so the goal is to have the report completed by the end of the year, so to fall in line with the county's plan. Since your money is coming through them, we need to follow the same time schedule as them. So the goal of having the report done by the end of the year, so that this does put the city in a position that you could apply for future implementation dollars. So whatever comes out of the plan, you can apply for the next round of funding that the US DOT puts out. The timeline for that is typically around now. So the funding for this year is out right now and due in May. So having the report done by the end of the year, having some projects planned with this report puts the city in a position that you can apply for future construction money. So we're confirming to meet that schedule that was identified.
And I think for me, the biggest chunk of this plan is to make our streets safer. Not only our local residential roads, but our main roads as well. And Ryan happens to be one of those roads that we have a lot of issues with. So I think that's that's one of our #1 priorities in this study. So I wish you well, and I can't wait to see the results. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Mr. Radke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too welcome this study, not because I think you're going to paste our name over another city's name, but I think you're going to critically examine the miles of roadway in our city that we all know have some problems. And I have some stats, which I thought, reading all the reports, not just your report, but the others who submitted like you, it was in the last 5-year period where we have data, there were 76 pedestrian crashes in Sterling Heights. There were 103 bicycle crashes in Sterling Heights. There were, I think, 28 fatalities over 5 years. Essentially, there was 1,000 citations for distracted driving. These are all real problems, and people are dying every day in Sterling Heights since I've become a councilman. Mr. Vanderpool's job is to tell us when something terrible happens. Just this year, we had a woman and her dog run over, and dog survived. The woman was killed because someone came flying out of their garage and ran her down while she walked her dog on the sidewalk. We know we have real safety problems here in Sterling Heights, and we're going to count on you and your report to help guide us to hopefully creating some solutions. And I had some concerns, but I think they really were allayed by your presentation, because while other folks really talked about Vision Zero, you kind of laid it out, but you didn't talk about it so much in your report. But in your presentation here, you really made a show of it. I think that should be our goal. I think I would challenge this council to set a time frame for when we want to try to end pedestrian fatalities in Sterling Heights. And that's going to be a long-term goal. I don't think it's going to get solved tomorrow or next year or the year after. But I get tremendously depressed whenever I get one of those text messages or one of those emails when someone is killed in Sterling Heights that we know because of our unsafe street design, because of our lack of crosswalks, because of how hard we make it to be a pedestrian in this city. I get really, really depressed because I feel like it's not our fault. We didn't run them over. But our bad design almost always contributes to the death. So I'm hoping that your report will reflect that. And also, I'm really hoping, I know I've worked with Mike before, that we really think about all the modalities of transport, not just cars. Because it's so easy to center cars in the discussion of everything we do here. But we should be talking about pedestrian walkways, pathways, ways to get people off the street environment. And, your company helped us with the redesign of Plumbrook, and Plumbrook looks wonderful. But I'm always saddened to see that it doesn't have dedicated protected bike lanes. So I would really challenge HRC to really look for dedicated, protected. Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Mr. Radke, go ahead.
Some of the audience members are talking and making comments in the background. I can hear them while I'm trying to.
Yeah, I know. It's been going on particularly with this item. If you could just try to maintain calm and quiet while Mr. Radke or any other council member is talking, we would appreciate that. If you can't, then you'll get called to order and forfeit potentially the right to come back up and speak. So, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But I know that on that project, we had to value engineer it because of the grant that we had received. So I'm hoping that we really can think about, especially with the Grand Rapids plan that you're working on and some of the other plans, ways to protect bicyclists across our city and pedestrians. Because I know that we have trail projects, we have ideas for people to get out of their homes and walk around. And my overriding goal, the reason I think we're doing this study, is I want to make it safer for pedestrians especially to walk and bike and get out of their cars and meet their neighbors in Sterling Heights. So I think that's all I have currently, but I really look forward to seeing your proposal. And then, I'm sorry, I have one more thing. And ma'am, I appreciate you coming up here and talking about Ryan Road, but all the statistics and the facts and the things that I see about Ryan Road tell me that Ryan Road is a problem. It's on our street map. It's a road that's designated just like Dodge Park. And Dodge Park, for most of it, is 2 lanes. Ryan Road is 5 lanes, and it's a cut through. And we get reports, I get them all the time, of people going around people in the center lane, drag racing, speeding, tremendous numbers of rear end accidents and other problems on Ryan Road. And I think the problem with Ryan Road is it's been engineered to be too big for what it's meant to do. The county and the state are responsible for roads that are supposed to be transit corridors. They're supposed to bring people from Detroit north to the farther suburbs. Ryan Road has become one of those corridors, only it's fully paid for and controlled by the city of Sterling Heights. It was never meant for this purpose. And we've allowed it to become way too big and way too fast. And I get a tremendous number, and I'm sure all my colleagues do too, a tremendous number of complaints from the residents who live nearby who suffer through the crashes, who suffer through the bike and pedestrian accidents, who suffer through the drag racing. And the only way to fix Ryan Road, and the one I always think about when I think about Ryan Road, is Rochester Hills did a tremendous road plan on Auburn Road that took a roadway that was unsafe, that was ill-used, not just about safety improvements to Ryan Road, but I really want a real reimagining of the corridor. Because I think what has been done in Auburn Road should be an example to us, that you can make a road both safer, they dieted it, but it's easier to traverse now. I used to drive Auburn Road all the time and get stuck in traffic, and now I don't. It's amazing, and I think that that's really the kind of thinking we want to bring to the Ryan Road project, so that it benefits the residents of Sterling Heights, not the people trying to drive as fast as possible through Sterling Heights. I think that would benefit our businesses too. So that's all I want to say about that. I appreciate you coming, and I look forward to a collaborative environment to really get this proposal on the table. And I guess you're going to, if I read this properly, present 5 projects, I think, that you think could be funded right away.
Yep.
So hopefully we can work on that together. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Radke.
Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Konski.
Through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, for the benefit of the residents at home, would you go over the funding here? Because this $510,000, the city is responsible for only, about 20%, which according to my calculator is only $102,000. And talk about any future funding that might be available to the city.
Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Kowski, I'd be happy to. First, as you mentioned, it is a 80% funded grant from the Federal Highway Administration, which obviously covers the lion's share of this study. And I do want to point out, too, these studies vary from community to community. The data, the traffic data, the pedestrian injury and fatality data, the traffic volumes, they vary from city to city. Obviously, what Southfield has is much different than what Sterling Heights has. And the data in our neighborhoods is far different than the data in Kalamazoo and so on. So that's all that data has to be collected and analyzed. So to suggest that, residents suggest this is just boilerplate and you could transfer from one community to another, obviously you can't do that. The reason these studies are so important, as was mentioned, they're necessary to acquire additional federal and state funding. By way of example, we did a similar study on Mound Road. You all remember Mound Road. You needed an all-terrain vehicle to get down Mound Road about 6 years ago. It was all over the news. It was the laughing stock of the state. It was a horrible situation. Now, that's a county road, but the city of Sterling Heights led a collaborative effort with the county and with the city of Warren, and we were able to work through a number of stakeholders, put together a viable study of Mound Road, which, by the way, is one of the most valuable corridors in the Midwest, estimated at close to $10 billion in terms of corporate assets. We're able to put together a plan and secure over $100 million in roadway funding to complete the Mound Road project that is just finishing up this year. So without a study like this, we're simply not going to be eligible for additional construction money. And we'll continue to have traffic problems in Sterling Heights. We'll continue to have people racing through neighborhoods. We'll continue to have drag racing on Ryan Road. We'll continue to have all sorts of other problems that are created when you don't have plans and remedies in place. It's foolish. It's financially negligent not to take advantage of a grant of this scope that is not burdening Sterling Heights taxpayers, and in the end is going to provide additional financial benefits to the community. So I think this is a great project. It's certainly a worthy study, and I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yep.
Continue.
You got the floor.
Okay. Through the chair to HRC. I lived at 14 and a half in Ryan from 1969 to 2002, so I know exactly what's been going on there. So question for you. Nelson Park is over on 15 Mile Road. Now, to leave 14 and a half in Ryan, you have to cross Ryan Road, then you have to take it down to 15 Mile Road, then you go west on 15 Mile Road, then you want to cross 15 Mile Road to get to Nelson Park, which is a real challenge. Will this be some things that you'll be looking at? And especially like on a bicycle?
Oh, definitely, yes. The whole study of Ryan Road will have to consider all modes of traffic. As Mr. Radke noted, we'll look at vehicles, pedestrians, bicyclists, and work with the city to come up with what reimagining Ryan Road looks like. So as the city manager noted, something similar was done for Mound Road to get the construction dollars to redo Mound Road. Now, we know Ryan Road is very different from Mound Road and has different characteristics, and the city has different plans for Ryan Road. So getting this project going and getting a plan put in place, developing concepts of what that can look like, will help you in the future to get that actual construction dollars to physically change what is currently there. So, yeah, I imagine our whole process of Ryan Road is going to look at more than just vehicles, but it's going to look at those destinations for the non-motorized, as well as bicyclists and everybody. Yep.
And I'm assuming also that you will be looking at the street lighting, traffic lights, because you couldn't get out of the subdivision there at 14 and a half until they put out the street light. Okay. I mean, you just sat there for a long time.
Yep.
To make a turn out. So that's another thing that I think has to be looked at. And as you probably already know, Ryan Road is quite residential all the way down. Mm-hmm. So help. Thank you.
Council, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Yanez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, a comment. I do want to say that a couple summers ago, our police department put together a program called Slow Your Roll. It was designed to reduce speeding in some major areas, and one of those roads that was targeted was Ryan Road. Mm-hmm. There's a major speeding problem there. Having said that, to Hubble, Roth, and Clark, with all the previous programs that you put together for other municipalities, do you have any examples of what eventually was done by those municipalities, and any data showing traffic calming or reduced deaths or injuries or accidents? Do you have data like that you could provide for us?
Yes, we do. And there are kind of well-known statistics based on different countermeasures that not only have been implemented in Michigan, but also across the state. So we will be pulling a lot of that information and presenting that to you. So any countermeasure that we do suggest, we will have data that backs it up, whether we've personally done it, or a neighboring community has done it, or someone else in the state of Michigan has done it.
I'm just looking specific, and that's great, bring it all. But I'm looking specifically for the work you've done in these communities and what the results were. If that's something you can provide.
I'm sure I can. The most recent ones were just done, so like the Kalamazoo Road Commission, we just finished in December. But they are now Kalamazoo County is a very, very rural community, so they are looking to implement more rumble strips, more countermeasures on their rural roads. So we will have data on that, but that won't specifically apply for the city of Sterling Heights. So we do have a lot that we've done in the city of Grand Rapids, a lot of pedestrian crossing projects that we've implemented over the past couple years, that we do have data on that and how those have been improved.
Okay, very good, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yanez. Okay. So, look, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, do I even respond? It's good to see you, Mike. Leah, thank you for presenting. I've had 0 conversations with either one of you about this topic. So you don't know what I want, and I'm not going to tell you right now. So it's going to be a mystery. So you're not going to be able to, read my mind, and you're not going to be able to just produce a report that I want, because you don't know what I want. The reality is that, I would say over the last 4 or so years, probably since the pandemic, the number one complaint that I've received from residents is speeding in neighborhoods and speeding outside of neighborhoods. And so it's interesting to me that the same people who are nodding their heads when Paul Smith is saying, don't spend the money on this traffic study, are the same ones saying, yeah, it's a big problem, right? It's a big problem. So I guess we can just, what, do nothing? I don't really understand. So the presentation was very thorough, it was very good. I appreciate the history and the background and the experience that HRC has and what they're going to do here for the city of Sterling. Ma'am, you can leave and go home and talk all you want in front of your TV. No, you can't, okay? That was what I was just saying. You can't say something. You have to stop talking, okay? Okay, well, welcome. We're glad to have you, but you, when you're sitting in the audience, you have to keep quiet, okay? You, if you want to come up to the no, you got to stop talking, okay? So listen to me. Stop talking. We're not having a dialogue. If you want to talk, you come when I call the audience. You have an opportunity under communications from citizens, which should be coming up in about 2 minutes. But you, oh my God.
Just let it go.
Man. All right. Okay, I'm thoroughly sidetracked. I appreciate you guys. I think that you have a very thorough presentation and a great proposal. We're very much looking forward to this. And I know the residents who are concerned. I was going to say complain, but it's not a complaint when you're thoroughly, concerned about the safety of your kids out in the neighborhoods, the safety of other motorists, the safety of the people traveling with you. So it's a major issue, and I'm glad that we're going to start making headway. It's something we've been talking about for a long time. So with that, council, with no further discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we will move on to communications from citizens. Ma'am, if you have anything you want to say, you have 4 minutes. Yeah, you can come up to the podium.
Not on the agenda.
You talk about anything that's not been on the agenda tonight, and that's not on the agenda. That's not. Yeah, go to that podium right there, and you have 4 minutes, okay? And there's a timer there. You can pull that microphone down a little bit.
Okay, what's not on the agenda?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay, all right, this is not on the agenda. If you look through Facebook and you saw regarding the recycling bins and garbage cans, there's a whole lot of commotion going on about that. People are not happy. I am not happy. I cannot see spending extra $95 for an extra garbage can, and I'm only this much shorter than a garbage can. And I can't be wheeling a garbage can. I would think we did a bad choice. Besides that, I think we had 2 bids, what I understood, and you took the highest of the 2 bids instead of taking the lower bid. And for 10 years, why 10 years? Do you know how much taxes are going? We pay so much taxes now as it is. I don't care, I'm not going to be here all forever. But it's true. I commend Mr., who was it? Barbara, I think, and Mr. Redkey that kind of opposed it and everybody else yayed it. But did everybody actually summarize everything to see what it's going to do? You're still going to get rodents. You're not going to keep them away. Them rodents going to be coming left and right. The people are going to be short on garbage cans. You can't even put out then the extra stuff you normally would because they'll charge you and tag you. Then you're paying more money. Do you think about the seniors maybe? The old people that can't do it? Oh, sure, get your neighbor. How long will your neighbor be able to do that for you? They won't be able to do that for you forever. They got their own stuff to do. They got their own garbage to take in and out. I mean, it's terrible that 5 voted yes and 2 voted no, and I praise the ones that voted no because apparently they understand. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, anyone else under communications? Ms. Elias?
What a beautiful day we had. Well, good evening, Mayor, City Council. Prior to make my statement, I just want to hope that the council, Mayor, will not.
Can you pull the
listen to our-
microphone, Ms. Sana, can you pull
Oh,
the
I'm
microphone
sorry.
closer to you?
Okay. Prior to making my statement, I would hope the council will listen to our residents without questioning their intentions. As before, we always, when we come and disagree with you, there are words that are prejudiced or such whenever we touch this topic. And I'm aware, in June, the council will probably continue with the practice of flying the LGBT flag for the month of Pride, which is June. I'm not in favor of it, and I'll tell you why. It's neither unifying for the city, nor is it fair to have it flying over our city. Nor is it fair to have a country outside our country flag flown into our city. It doesn't make sense. This creates division because some people favor it, some don't. Some are offended by it, some are not. What we are needing to do is to create unifying flags. And the only flags we should be flying, as I stated before, are those of our country, our state, our city, because that unifies us. There's no division on that, nor should there be. You're not supposed to pick and choose who you wish to promote or give them special attention. Because now, as you know, with the expansion of the Elliott-Larsen Act, everybody has the same protections. So I know you were saying before, Michael, when you sent me in a letter, you wanted to make them feel comfortable. Well, I think everybody in the city should be able to feel comfortable, not just a choice. We are all welcomed here, and we should all be welcomed with our opinions, and whether you disagree with us or not. So you should not pick and choose who you wish to favor. It's not fair. That's all I want to say.
All right, thank you, Ms. Elias. Mr. Smith?
Well, I'd like to, I guess in a way, agree with Senator's position in that the purpose of a city council meeting is for we, the people, to tell you what we think. It's not for you to educate and indoctrinate us. It's for us to educate you on the position of the people so that you can operate the city in accordance with the will of the people and not tell the people what their will should be. Because this isn't a third or fourth grade classroom where you're the teachers and we're the children. This is not the way city government should work. Now, after that preamble, getting into the lakeside development, I had a piece of business in Troy the other day, or this morning actually, and the abandoned Kmart headquarters is in the process of being demolished, being torn down to the ground. I think it's a property that is probably bigger and more valuable than Lakeside, and it's been vacant longer. And eventually, somebody needed the property, and they're tearing it down, building something else. And I don't really believe that Troy city government had anything to do with that. The fact is, somebody else wanted the property, and they redeveloped it. And this Lakeside's an uphill battle. I had a pretty long presentation made up, but my whole presentation's become a moot point because this operator that's out of the box that's operated in Miami, I don't know if anybody's ever gone down to Miami. Do they have an office building or a condo or hotel room? Maybe they're doing business out of a post office box or a boat for all you know. I've looked at their website. It looks like their company involves 7 people, of which 3 are the principals. And they're this impressive operation. They have 13 properties spread over 9 states. But their 13 properties are all walk-away businesses where somebody's run a strip mall or a big box store, a little piece of property into debt and said, somebody take this off my hands and run it. So they've they've taken these 13 properties and relabeled them and tried to run it. They got it free. So according to the press releases, which no doubt came from Sterling Heights that showed it to the Macomb Daily, that the whole stumbling block is that Lord and Taylor and Sears wouldn't exactly give them the land for free. That they're used to people run their business into debt and walk away from, give it to them free. So Lord and Taylor and Sears want a few bucks for it, and that didn't happen. There was a number of 600 million thrown around. There was a number of $1 billion thrown around. Well, those are just talk. They could be 100 million, 200 million, 300 million. They could be anything, because until they're cash, they're just talk. And my take on it is this: people went to the money market and they said, loan me 300 or 400 million at 5 or 6%. And money market people said, your plan doesn't look so good. I think we'll pass on it and go another way. And I think the things fizzled out. I think the money market was smart, because their security is you can take over Lakeside Mall, but Lakeside Mall was already a derelict that's not worth taking over. So why would the money market take that as collateral? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. I'll stay on my right, and I'll get to you in a minute, Mr. Nelson, but you in the blue jacket first.
Last 2 weeks ago when I brought up that your Agenda 2030 looks like the UN Agenda 2030, and I said that it's not found in the Constitution. And the reason why I say it's not found in the Constitution is because you're following a foreign agenda and not an American agenda. And you can go to the UN website and look it up yourself, UN Agenda 2030. And you can also go to the World Economic Forum, which is kind of an enforcement for the 2030 agenda, which is it uses, through the corporations, ESG, they sign on to that, the corporations do, and then they implement DEI through their HR department, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, right? So that's a foreign agenda. That's Klaus Schwab over in Geneva saying, you own nothing and be happy. And the 2030 plan of the UN is 15-minute cities, where it's a sustainable city where you don't have to travel very far. You can do everything from your home or whatever. And it's completely racist against this Christian straight white male. Because I'm leaving the workforce this year, and I've fought for 30 years with them trying to fire white males. It's real easy for them to fire white males. They don't hire white males, regardless of your ability and education. So if you have any white male children, they're going to have a hard time in the future. And I don't know where they're going to go, because apparently they can turn any city into this. And so, Mr. Taylor, you said you haven't read it before, so I printed it out for you. And if you would you accept it? Could I give it to somebody?
You can give it to our clerk, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think I'll read it, but you can give it to the
but
clerk.
you can't claim ignorance now, because here it is. And I still got 1:40, so, heck, I don't know what to say. Other than, you said I'm not gonna change nothing when I come up here and speak, so you're absolutely right. I'm not gonna be changing anything. But, I fought for this country, and I don't feel like, it's my country at all. Through those agendas, they're for illegal immigration, changing the demographics of the country, so you don't have a culture. America doesn't even know what their culture is now. But we're Christian, European, and soon not to be. And so you have all this conflict in the direction that this country should go. So I asked my dad once, I said, Dad, why did you let all this stuff happen in America? Because, you know, I saw the change back when I was a kid. And he goes, well, I have no control over the government, you know. And I'm saying the same thing. It's like, you know, I feel responsible for leaving this country in bad shape the way it's going. And I feel bad for my culture, too. So have a good day.
Hello, my name is Chris McLaughlin. I serve as the State Director for the Secular Alliance of Michigan, whose constituents are the 16% of Michigan residents who are not religious. Those people go by many different names. Some of them prefer to be called atheists, some of them like to be called agnostics, some skeptics, some humanists, and so on. But they all share one thing in common. They all have a naturalistic worldview. They don't believe in any gods. The demographics of that group are pretty interesting. Not only do they make up 16% of the population of Michigan, according to recent polling by Pew Research and CBS News, they probably make a little bit more of the population as a percentage of urban areas like Sterling Heights. They also tend to skew higher on the economic scale. They also tend to skew higher on education. In fact, you know, income and education obviously are both correlated, but income, education, and non-belief are all correlated. So the more those increase, the less likely a person is to be a religious believer. This bears itself out. For example, you know, probably the most educated people in the United States are members of the National Academy of Sciences. They're approximately 93% non-religious. None of them believe in a God. Also, it turns out that non-religious people are very charitable. They're at least as charitable as their religious counterparts. They make up an incredibly small amount of the number of prisoners, people who are lawbreakers, who are convicted. The Federal Bureau of Prisons did a survey about 10 years ago. They found out that less than 0.1% of the prison population are non-believers. And of course, as a lot of people already know, these people who are otherwise referred to as nuns, as in when they're asked what their religious preferences are, they say none of the above. They're growing in size. Just 10 years ago, they were about 5 to 10% less than they are now. So I wanted to address the stigma and the lack of inclusion of these people, especially in government. You know, why the lack of inclusion, for example? And I think I know part of the answer. Part of the answer is that religious organizations, you know, they typically have real estate. They have buildings. You know that if you contact a local church leader, that they'll spread the word of whatever work that you're doing, whatever kinds of things that you as political leaders are doing to the rest of their congregation. It's sort of an easy channel. But that still doesn't address, that addresses the lack of inclusion, but not necessarily the stigma, right? These are people who tend to be highly educated, higher income, charitable people, law-abiding. So again, why are they not included in deliberations? Because they are very interested in the kinds of things that affect local governments and affect, in particular, that have to do with religious issues. So, for example, the building of churches and the zoning for churches, other things. So, in conclusion, I'd like to request that the City Council engage in a policy review of any initiatives that are entangled with religious organizations, and I encourage them to open a dialogue with the non-religious members of your community. And I thank you for your time and consideration, and I and others are available for questions or any further discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yep, thank you. Next, sir.
Hello
again. I will be brief. What's happening at where the Kmart headquarters, Michigan Medicine bought out 25% of the property, and they're putting in offices there, medical offices, just for FYI. I welcome the traffic pattern, the reconstructing the roads. I don't think the roads are the only issues. I think the drivers are the ones using the roads. And I'm not blaming our police department for not taking care, but it seems like maybe a larger police presence would slow something down. I mean, when you drive through Troy, you see police everywhere. You know, they'll pull you over going 5 miles an hour over. Again, I'm not promoting that, but I don't think we're doing enough in regards to watching it with the police officers. Lastly, I don't agree with the statements that we're here to tell you what to do. This is a dialogue. Dialogue means we both talk to each other, and that's the only way things will get accomplished. So I don't agree with I'm here to tell you what to do. I'm here to talk with you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson.
Ken Nelson again, Sterling Heights. I'd just like to address the issues that we hear all the time about we'd be derelict if we didn't spend the federal government's money or the state of Michigan's money in doing what we want to do, that we'd be derelict. You know, there's been a lot of talk lately about, are we paying too much taxes? The fact is that the taxes that we pay to the state of Michigan that allows them to pick and choose what projects that they want to take part in is wrong. It is very wrong. I think you're in a good time right now. You're going through your budget. I think you need to spend a whole bunch of time on the revenues that the city takes in. Somehow, they all involve tax money, whether it be local, state, or federal. And one other thing, it's a long time ago, Mrs. Yarko, that you told me, I kept saying the city was a business. The city is a business. You told me, no, it is not. Just the ordinance that we have. The ordinance that we have that goes down and says, we will do this. We will give you permits for this amount of money. We have products. We charge for them. That becomes part of our income and our revenues. So we are a business. So all of this somehow all gets back to the taxpayer. So don't ever say that it's not going to directly affect the taxpayers of Sterling Heights, because it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Anyone else under communications? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. Hello. My name is Parvane Oro. You are our city government. We look up to you to run our neighborhoods and our city. And so far, I mean, you do a great job. We love being Sterling Heights residents. But I really oppose for you to go ahead and fly the LGBTQ flag for one reason, and that reason is that it stands for a minor community, and it doesn't stand for everyone. I mean, this is the city of Sterling Heights in the state of Michigan, and in the country of the United States of America. What does the LGBTQ flag have to do anything with City of Sterling Heights or America. It's their pride. Let them have it. They can fly it over their houses. As we Christians fly our flag or our crosses over our houses, or as any other religion or maybe even sports teams. There's no difference, right? So why are you giving special privilege to a minor community over all the other communities and clubs and organizations and religions and what have you? I mean, I don't get it. Our president said it's Pride Month or whatever during our most holiest of holiest days in Christianity. We were offended, but we didn't go crazy. We didn't do anything because we are God-fearing people. What does this little minor community have anything to do with having their flag? Let them be proud of themselves. That's fine. Let them hang it over their houses. I implore you, all of you, to stand up for all of your people, all your constituents, and not just a minor people. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I'm a little sick, but bear with me. I'd like to start off with a quote. Everyone fears that which they don't understand. Today, I am speaking as an atheist on behalf of my group of people. What I don't want to happen is people to be afraid or threatened by atheists or non-believers. And what I do want to have happen is for people to understand that we're a big part of society. We're growing and we're non-threatening. In fact, you probably know a bunch of us, and most of our group is too scared to just come out and say it. We're afraid of being ostracized by communities who love us but then turn our backs on us as soon as we declare that we don't believe in a higher power. I want to bring other non-believers out to let them know that it's okay to speak and announce yourselves, and I want religious people to accept us on the same level that we've been accepting you guys for centuries. I want people to know that we're out there and we're harmless. We're like the spider you see in the corner of the room. You know, you're much bigger than us, and we're much more afraid of you than you are of us. We're not trying to take anything away from others. We're asking for equality for all and fairness for all, and that includes for our group as well. Imagine if the Pledge of Allegiance said one nation under Allah, or every piece of currency you touched said one nation under Thor. It wouldn't feel right. Under God wasn't even added onto money in the Pledge of Allegiance until 1955 because of communism scares. And our founding fathers spoke about the importance of keeping the great nation a secular nation, with keeping religion separate from politics, religion, and education. So the reason I'm up here talking about this stuff, which probably seems way out of left field, is because of the importance. I mean, look what's going on overseas in Israel. There's a war. Some people say it's a genocide. Has families fighting each other. There's over 30,000 dead, 13,000 of which are children, over the right to a holy land. Atheists have never been part of a war. We're a peaceful people. Religion is great for bringing people together, but it can also be super divisive. If you're not part of the club, then you must be the enemy. Or if you think, you're different, you must be bad. Look what's happened in this country. I feel like we're on the brink of a civil war. I mean, with what's going on in Arizona, they're taking women's rights away and making it down to a law that was enacted before the state was even a state, at a time when Lincoln was in office. Are you kidding me? That doesn't even make sense. All these anti-abortion laws are just going to kill so many women. They might as well declare a law on women, or a war on women. We're not your enemy. We're not devil worshippers or baby killers. In fact, religious people are more likely to worship the devil than us. We don't even believe in him. So you can't really worship something you don't believe or think exists. And please be respectful of our non-belief too. The country's a melting pot of different cultures and beliefs. and ours has value, and ours has a right too. I just want to be recognized and included. You know, there have been a lot of rights movements over the years, a lot of accepting into society marginalized groups that we now have holidays for. There's been like black rights, women's rights, gay rights, trans rights. We want to be recognized and included. We're part of society too. And I'd like to end just by saying that we're all atheists about most of the gods societies have ever believed in. We just take it one God further. So thank you guys for your time. Hope you have a good rest of your night. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else under communications from citizens? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Kathleen Handyside, and I live near Maple Lane and 15. So first off, I'm going to say, yes, we have a definite problem with the speeding. We have a problem, people driving through. We also have a problem with people who don't seem to have any education about driving. I can mention that you have a crosswalk with a light that is not safe to cross because you have a business with a driveway. People come out of that driveway right at Dodge Park and 15. Now, police officers have told us who has the right of way? The people on the road, not the people in the parking lot, but they think they have the right of way. And a woman was killed there. So that's something that needs to be addressed. I also want to say that I, again, can agree with everyone with the flag. Again, you're promoting, there's no reason why you have to raise somebody up by pulling everybody down. And that's what you're doing, is you're not including everybody. You want to start having a DEI manager and everything, but that's not inclusive if not everybody is included. And frankly, when I look at this council, I don't see much inclusion here. I really don't. I see one kind of people up here. So for you all to, maybe that's why, maybe you feel guilty or something, but there's no reason to raise a flag. There are plenty of laws, and I know that city manager has laws so that, you know, if anybody says something wrong, you can come after everybody. But it just doesn't make sense to be flying a flag like everybody says. We got 3 flags. That includes everybody. I've lived here now for over 12 years. We're very diverse. This city has been, over the years, very diverse. I never heard of anyone thinking that you have to manage that. I think we all get along together. I don't think you see, you know, I live around a lot of Chaldeans. I don't see them running over to the Muslims and saying, I don't like you. I don't see any riots going on. We get along for the most part. So I don't understand this idea that you have to manage things. We want everybody to feel inclusive. And obviously, we have a new group here with the atheists who feel like they aren't included, which I don't understand that one. So, but that's what the DEI should be. It shouldn't be set up just because you think you've got to pull somebody up and put somebody down. Everybody needs to be included. So we don't want a flag up saying, you guys are the ones we care about, but we don't care about the rest of them. And maybe you should ask about, you know, how the Muslims and the Chaldeans think about that. Thank you.
Anyone else under communications from citizens?
I wasn't originally going to speak, but I'm going to answer a few questions. My name is Douglas Campbell. I'm a card-carrying atheist. I've been an atheist since birth. I learned about it when I was about 20 years old. I have been fired from a job for coming out of the closet as an atheist at work. Not particularly interfering with the conduct of the business, just because of who I am. That's what atheists suffer on a daily basis. Harassment, being fired, being denied promotions. That's our reality. And there is no civil rights protection for the non-religious. If you're handicapped, the Americans with Disabilities Act protects you. Lesbian and gay, they are a protected class. Black and female, protected class. Atheists? Nope, we have no recourse. That's what it's about. It's about equal rights and equal opportunities, which we don't have.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else under communications from citizens? Not, we'll close that portion, go on to reports from city administration. Anything tonight, Mr. Vanderpool?
Mayor, I wanted to clarify an earlier statement made by a resident. I believe it is Mr. Smith. He commented that a business was getting a full tax break under an agenda item. That is inaccurate. It's simply not true. It's important to understand that businesses and industrial properties in the city are eligible for what's called the State of Michigan Public Act 198, which was approved in 1974. And if they make the necessary improvements, in this case, a new building was constructed that cost $7 million or so. Now the business is going to invest, that's going to lease the building, is going to invest close to $5 million in equipment. And pursuant to this state law, they qualify for an incentive, but they're still paying property taxes. In fact, we'll be getting tens of thousands of dollars in new property taxes from this business. So I think Mr. Smith might have been referring to a different public act, which we don't use in the city of Sterling Heights. We've only used it once in our city's history. It's called Public Act 328. That provides a 100% tax incentive. That's not the case here. So I just wanted to clarify that. And these business investments in our major industrial corridor between Van Dyke and Mound from 14 to 20 Mile Road, as I mentioned earlier, close to $10 billion in corporate assets along that corridor. One of the reasons Sterling Heights has one of the lowest tax rates in the state, we have a very low tax rate, especially compared to our surrounding communities, Warren, Utica, and many, many others. The reason we have such a low tax rate is because of our corporations that are located in the city of Sterling Heights. One final point on this. What business wouldn't take advantage of this? They do it all over the state. In fact, residents, in this case Mr. Smith, takes advantage of a principal residence exemption. That gives homeowners a reduction in their property taxes. So it's a similar concept. Of course, anyone eligible for that would not pass it up. They would always take advantage of it. So I just wanted to clarify that misinformation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Mr. Koszybski?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay. I'll wait till the end. Council, anybody with reports or anything tonight?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Radke.
Very briefly. I know the last couple of times CDBG came up, and even this year, it was the last day we could possibly approve it, so we had to approve it that night. So without objection of my colleagues, I'd ask that for next year's CDBG and future years, it be presented to City Council for any possible remarks or changes at least 30 days before it's due, so that if we wanted to change the allocations, we'd have that ability without objection.
All right, Mr. Vanderpool, do you know of any practical reason that couldn't be done next year?
Mayor, I don't see any off the cuff. At the very least, we could perhaps give you an advanced draft copy of what is being thought of and recommended by the Community Action Coalition, the group that oversees that effort. So I think, let me research a little further, just to make sure what exactly we can get you 30 days in advance, but I'm pretty certain we can accommodate the request.
Well, is there a date certain that that has to be approved by?
There is indeed. So we'd have to look at some of the public hearing schedules and maybe if we accelerate those and so on. I understand the desire to have a little more time to deliberate and consider the recommendation, and I think that's fair.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yes, as long as we have a chance to deliberate on it without it having to be done that night, so we can't make any changes.
Okay.
To further that, I'd also ask the city manager to send the council in our weekly packet the eligible census tracts or districts where CDBG money can be spent. I know that this has been some confusion in the past about what is eligible. I know that, certain groups are eligible, the disabled, senior citizens, and people who are economically disadvantaged. But the areas where possible CDBG money could be spent, I think that'd be helpful if the city administration would provide us with where it could be spent so that council can do some research also. Without objection, Mr. Mayor.
Council, any objection to that? Hearing none.
Excellent. And finally, this is not, I'm not going to make a play, but I would really urge the administration and our directors to think about the entire impact of the CDBG proposal as it relates to the residents. I'm almost thinking in the future, I'd love to add a citizen impact or a resident impact category. I'm not quite there yet. But, thinking about this year's CDBG proposal, it repaved Doncaster Drive. I looked up Doncaster Drive, and there are 30 residences on Doncaster Drive. And it's not a subdivision cut through, it's not a major street. So we spent $400,000 in CDBG money to pave the street of 30 homes. Whereas, just by my back of the napkin calculation, if that was spent on trees and eligible census tracts, it would be something to the tune of about 5,000 trees. Or it would be about a third to a half of our sidewalk gap completion in a given year. So I'd really ask our administrators to really put their heads together and, in the words of Mrs. Schmidt, sharpen their pencils and think about ways we could further the impact of our CDBG funds so that the most residents are being affected and the most impact across our city. Much like we do with our Safe Streets proposal, where we purposely fix streets in sectors across the city every year so that not one area derives all of the success from the program. I would ask that we really consider that CDBG, so that happens too, so that we have a CDBG proposal that really tries to have the most impact across our city, not on one street of 30 homes. So that's all I have today, I guess. One more thing. I'm looking forward tomorrow to going to Lansing with our youth advisory board here in Sterling Heights. I really commend city administration and for really establishing that. And I think they're going to get a very educational experience meeting with the Lieutenant Governor and having a chance to see how government, not just our government, but the state government works. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Mrs. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I don't know how many times we could talk about the garbage, but through the chair to either Mr. Vanderpool or lucky Mr. Moore, who happens to be in the audience.
He switched sides, so he thought maybe.
I thought he left, and then he came back.
Let's try.
So tonight, one of the residents said that we took a higher bid than a lower bid, or that there were multiple bids and we took not the lowest bid. Can you tell me, Mr. Moore, how many companies fulfilled the entire RFP?
Yeah, so I get to direct it to him, and as I do this, I'm going to say.
Through the chair.
Yeah, right. And as the chair is giving it to Mr. Moore, I'm going to say we picked, the bid that we picked was $23 million less than the next lowest bidder. So if we would have gone with the next bidder, it'd have been $23 million more. Okay, now, Mr. Moore, you can answer the question.
Thank you, Mayor. There's really not too much more to elaborate than that, than what you had just said. That's pretty much how it shook out. If I'm not mistaken, there was 4 bidders that provided a proposal for refuse services, and as the mayor stated, we took the bidder that was $23 million less.
But not all the bidders actually completed the bid.
There was 4 bidders, and I believe there was 3 that were deemed qualified. And we took a hard look at those 3, and then it shook out to be, the bidder that we went with was the $23 to $24 million less than the next bidder.
And another thing that keeps coming up is, will residents be charged if they put a chair out at the curb now? We've gone over this ad nauseum, but it keeps coming up, so.
Sure, yeah. There will be no extra charge for bulk collection. When you say a chair or a piece of furniture, that's considered bulk. There will be no extra charge. So that, what the residents are used to currently for bulk collection will be the exact same moving forward. It might be frankly a little bit easier and less intrusive. At times residents currently may call and say, I have a piece of furniture, I have a mattress or something like that. Forthcoming, the contractor now will have, they have the technology in their vehicle. As that vehicle is driving by, they're gonna, on their touchscreen, drop a pin, if you will, where that location is, which automatically alerts and then routes the bulk truck to their location. So it'd be actually easier for the residents. They won't even have to call.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully, that's the last time we have to cover all this, but I highly doubt it will be. We've sent out multiple mailers and postcards and water bills, and it's in the newspaper and on TV, and, I was watching YouTube the other day, and up pops our garbage cans. So it's out there, this education is out there, and I just hope and pray that people don't listen to rumors or hearsay. Call the city if you have a question. We'd be happy to put you at ease on how this is going to actually work. Enough about that. Thank you, Mr. Moore. And then through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool, I was driving down Irving today, and I know Fillmore is totally gone and under construction. I'm wondering if, because Barton Mallow is there with crushed concrete trucks and double tandems, and can we make sure that they are only using Irving out to Van Dyke and not Amsterdam? Both of those streets were just recently done over the last few years, and if we're gonna ruin a street, I'd rather it be just one street instead of 2 streets, and Amsterdam is really a residential bus route as well. So if we could just reach out to them and make sure that that's the flow of their traffic. And then on a final note, my colleagues will be in Lansing tomorrow with our Youth Advisory Board. I am traveling to Traverse City with 21 of my students as a proud professional, and they will be competing along with students from Henry Ford High School and Stevenson High School, the International Academy, 2,700 high school kids that will be competing at the state championship for HOSA, which is the Health Occupation Science of America students. So I wish all of them well, anyone that's from Sterling Heights, not just my career prep kids, but all of the kids, I wish them well and safe travels to my colleagues and to everyone heading up to Traverse City. And I have nothing further, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Anyone else? Mrs. Zarko.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I'm going to be brief. I just don't want somebody to give me credit for something that I didn't do. And just to let you know, I did vote for the refuge contract. So it wasn't me, and for the reason that we were saving so much money. So that's the first correction. I did vote for it. And the other thing is, I'm going to stand by my statement that government is not business. I look at government as being for everyone. When you have a business, you concentrate on a demographic, which means you cater to who you want to buy your product. And for me, I think government, it doesn't matter who you are, we're here for everyone. Nothing further.
Thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Anyone else? Mr. Yanis.
Oh, just a couple things, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I would like to say good luck to Councilwoman Schmidt's team going up. My stepdaughter, when she was in high school, participated as well, and I know how important that is to the kids. Folks, I got off social media a couple years ago. I mean, I sort of dip my toe in there every now and then, and then the chill makes me jump back out. But my wife is still on there, and we'll sit on the couch, and she'll go, "Oh no." I go, "What's going on?" "Oh, Facebook." "Oh, what's going on?" Yeah, look it. Give the cart system a chance. It hasn't even been implemented yet. I know it's not perfect. I know that there's some problems. Look, I live in a condo. I've had this discussion with city management. I have neighbors that are not going to be able to store their carts. Our bylaws don't allow storage on the outside. There are condos right here at 18 in Van Dyke that have carports. There's nowhere to put their carts. It's going to be a bit of a bumpy road initially. I hear what you're saying, especially about, if you live alone, you create a small amount of garbage. You don't need a 95-gallon cart. My next door neighbor puts, his garbage is literally in a Myers shopping bag every week, right? And so I'm going to take his in so he doesn't have to do the cart. We'll figure these problems out. But by far and away, this is going to be a much better system, by far and away. And I know that not because we have it here, but it's happened in other communities. Other communities use it. It is better. It's cleaner. It's just going to be a better system. We will get through this. I promise you. We will get through this, and we'll iron all this other stuff out. All your concerns, just stop believing what you read on social media, please. Now, once we institute the cart system and you got a complaint, let's hear them. Let's have it. But right now, social media, just let it go, please. To Mrs. Ziarko's point about government, and I don't, Mr. Mayor, I don't normally use my position here to get on a soapbox. I try not to do that. But I've said this more than one time since I've been on city council. The job of government is to provide for the health, safety, and general welfare of our public. The health, safety, and general welfare, which means making sure that we fund police, that we fund fire, that we fund DPW, that we have safe streets for people to drive on, and that if people are speeding or driving dangerously, we have the tools available to us to make sure that we can take care of that, we can address it. So I understand that there's some concerns about this study, but the fact of the matter is we do have some problems here. And we hear about the problems. That's the one thing, as a citizen, you care about the city and you elect us to look under the hood, right? We know what's going on under the hood. And sometimes it's not so good and we got to fix it. Now, how often do I hear, "Oh, I love the park, I love the community center, I love the library, I love living here in Sterling Heights, it's great." I hear that all the time. I think we can all say that we hear that all the time. But we know up here not everything's perfect and things have to be addressed, and that's our job. That's why you elect us. If we're not doing that job, then next election comes around, you can tell us that we're not doing that job. But the fact of the matter is, we are always focused on the health, safety, and general welfare of the city and making sure that you and your neighbors are safe and you're getting the services that you need to live a high-quality life here in the city. I gotta say, man, I got 4 grandkids, 2 boys, 2 girls. To hear some of the comments made about the future of my grandchildren because of the color of their skin or their gender is disturbing. I was thinking about our directors, one of which is sitting right here, our police chief, our fire chief, our DPW director, our Parks and Recs director, our city engineer, on and on, white males. And that's not changing anytime soon. So I know that there's a concern. Get off Facebook. Get off social media. There was okay, and I'm going to stir the hornet's nest a little bit here, but that's okay because I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. I agree with the speakers who talk about raising the LGBTQ flag. And I am probably one of the biggest supporters of that community sitting up here right now. Last spring, my wife and I spent a weekend in Traverse City, and every store, every shop, coffee shop, whatever, that was flying the LGBTQ flag, we stopped in because we knew we were going to be safe, comfortable, and like-minded. But the fact of the matter is, you know, the struggle never ends. We have gone, I don't want to say above and beyond, but we've done a lot here in the city, right? I mean, we've had the Ethnic Community Committee since the 90s, right? The Elliott Larson Act was amended in the state of Michigan to include LGBTQ. The city has implemented and trained its employees on DEI. We created the Community Alliance. The Macomb LGBTQ has held their annual summer picnic twice here in Sterling Heights. I think we've done a lot. And I think we need to move on past the symbolism and focus on the substance. And that's what we've done here in this city. So, you know, we raise the flag, we raise it, we don't. As long as we keep doing the solid work that includes everybody, male, female, white, black, gay, straight, whatever, that's the work that we have to do, not just flying a flag or wearing a lapel pin. Thank goodness there is no religious test. Thank goodness. And then last but not least, I just want to say good luck to the candidates running in tonight's special election in Warren and Westland. Thank goodness the tie in Lansing will be over. There's important legislation that's just sitting on a table somewhere, legislation that will benefit us here in Sterling Heights, and the state legislature can finally get back to work. So good luck to those folks, and that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yanez. Anyone else?
I will go, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Mrs. Conn.
First, I want to announce that the Red Wings and the Canadians are tied 3-3 in the third. So that's very important to me. And I'm sorry to let you know that I was checking that, but I had to quick check it right now, and I'm now going to put my phone away. But it's a very important thing to notice for this
Hope
big
you're
Red
not
Wing
in the
fan.
bubble, but,
Yes.
oh, I said, I hope they're not in the bubble.
Okay.
You know what that means?
No.
The bubble, you know, when you tape the show, you
Okay.
tape it at home, and you're like, I'm gonna race right home, and I'm gonna watch the game.
Okay, well, sorry. I broke the bubble. Whatever.
Bubble has been burst.
Rubble has been burst. I've been known to be called the fun police once or twice in my life. So, but I did have to announce it because I think that's extremely important.
I was watching.
So there you go.
The Flyers are tied 1-1 too.
Okay, who cares about them? Well, I guess we do. We do care about them. So there, because they need to lose. Okay, anyway. So, very briefly, because we would love to watch some of the game sometime tonight. I am very happy about the study and the grant because I do think that safe streets, you know, we all want to be safe, and safety is extremely important. That's what we all are here for, or that's what's most important to most of the residents in the city, safety. And this is just a tool that we need to use. And I know it is a lot of money, but that the grant is what is offered to us. Our tax dollars that we pay goes to the state, and that is what, yes, it is our tax dollars at work, but it is an opportunity to use those tax dollars for good. And that is something that is important to note, and happy to use them if we can use them. So, going to use that money if we can. So I'm great and happy to see that. Congratulations to the HOSA kids going, young men and women going as a nurse and health professional. Love to see anybody that's going to come back into the profession. Maybe I can actually hire some nurses and aides because I am very challenged on that. They're really hard to find them out in the real world. And to the Youth Advisory Board, I'm glad Mr. Radke is going with them. It is, anybody else going?
A lot of us are, right?
Mayor? Oh,
I'm going.
okay, well, yay, all of you. Some of us have to be at work at 6 in the morning tomorrow, so I will not be going with them, but take good luck and have a great time in Lansing. I'm jealous that you get to go. I do want to, PSA, public service announcement. This was mailed to me today. I know that most of you can't see what these are, but these are invoices that were actually given to a resident for lift assist from their assisted living. These were invoices mailed from the city to the assisted living, as we have planned to do, that the assisted living then just decided to pass on to the resident who needed assistance. That is not what these invoices were meant to be, why we build the assisted living. They should not have ever gone to the resident. They were sent both to me, and a copy was sent to me, and the copy was also sent, as I see, according to the letter, to the fire chief, who will probably have already addressed these. I'm going to be handing these off to Mr. Vanderpool to assist with these. But if any resident and anybody that you know out in the public has received an invoice billing the individual for a lift assist, that is not to be paid by an individual. Do not pay it. Contact the city or even myself directly, because these lift assist bills are to be going to facilities that are abusing the city and our emergency EMS system, and they are not to be billed to an individual person. If you receive them from your assisted living facility, it is their way of trying to skirt the system. They're being billed because they have abused the system. They are supposed to be hiring people to assist those residents themselves, have their own aides to lift them up, people off the floor, or just maybe two people next to them helping them up. No, they call EMS to do that instead of helping the people. They're charging that person for that type of assist they're charging them in their rent, their whatever concierge charges that they're charging these people to live in their assisted living facility, but then they are trying to pass the bill on to them. It is not to be paid by a resident. Please do not pay it. Contact the city, contact myself. We will help you with that. And on that note, that's what I have. So go Wings, and that's all I have, Mayor Taylor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
A couple things on the trash system. I think what I've been saying to residents in emails is sort of exactly what Mr. Yanez said, which is that we understand that there's going to be growing pains. We understand that there's some frustrations here. Let's just be brutally honest. Working in city government, we're used to customers that like things the way they are, and if they like things the way they are, they don't want things to change. That's very common, and I understand that too. I'm a creature of habit, and I like to do the same things all the time, and I don't like a whole lot of changes either. This trash cart system and universal curbside recycling system is not something that we are inventing ourselves. It's not something that we're really going out on a limb here and saying, we're going to experiment, we're going to try something new, and we're going to just hope for the best. We're doing what most other cities have already implemented throughout Metro Detroit and throughout the United States. A universal cart system is certainly not something that every city has adopted, but Shelby Township has it, other cities, but we listed them off before. There are many, many cities surrounding Sterling Heights that have the same system in place. And of course, it took probably when they implemented it 20 or 30 years ago, there were the same sort of growing pains. We're going to get through them. And what I've been asking people is to just please be patient. Please be patient. Try it out. Try out the system. Try out the trash cart. If you don't have a lot of trash, that's fine. Put it in there anyways. If you don't think you have enough room in your garage, try to get creative. Try to move some things around. I've heard from a lot of residents saying, why can't we have the smaller trash cart? Well, my understanding is that it wouldn't work the same way with well, let me ask Mr. Moore. I saw an email from you to a resident today, but is it fair to say that would the smaller cart work with the trucks that Priority has, the trash trucks?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Priority expressed some concerns using those smaller carts, and they were not recommended for the city. What we've chose is the 95-gallon refuse cart and the 65-gallon recycle cart, which is industry standard.
Okay, and from going on Priority's website, the depth of the large cart is 33.5 inches. The depth of the smaller cart is 27.75 inches. So it's about 6 inches deeper So it's a little bit bigger, 6 inches. You know, it's not that much. And the width is 3 inches. So the bigger cart is 3 inches wider. So I've heard from a number of residents saying, if we could just have the smaller cart, it would fit in our garage. But, you know, we're talking about 3 inches wide and 6 inches deep, so it's not that much different in size. So again, I would say, please just be patient, try it out. And if in 3 to 6 months it's not working, we'll talk and we'll know and we'll hear it from the residents. So I just encourage you, please do that. And ma'am, I don't know, first of all, apologize for yelling at you. I just wanted you to try to, you know, let me have the floor and let me speak, but I do apologize for yelling at you. We took the lowest bidder, and so I don't know where that information came from, that we didn't take the lowest bidder. We took the lowest bidder by quite a lot. You know, over $2 million a year is the difference between the bidder that received the successful bid and the next closest one. So $2 million a year is a significant tax savings for our residents. So I think the information was just wrong there. What an interesting meeting tonight. I don't know if this was by design, that we had the atheists / agnostics / secular humanists and the people that oppose the flying of the flag. I want to not delve too deep into this, but one of the things that I think Ms. Handyside, if I had your name right, talked about, and I was nodding my head because you bring up a good point, that this is a city that, you know, I think if you're in the neighborhoods, if you're in the stores, if you're out and about in the community, frankly, if you're anywhere but Facebook, there is unity. People seem to be unified. You go to the farmer's market, there are thousands and thousands of people at Dodge Park on a Thursday afternoon. I've never once seen a fight. I've never once seen people even having an animated argument there. People are excited to be outside. People are happy to be in the community. When I go through neighborhoods, you know, people have friendly neighborhoods in Sterling Heights, and people generally get along very well. And so to me, I hear that and I think, I don't want to take credit. I'm not going to take credit for that. It's, by and large, it's just good people behaving well. But I also want to say, like, I think that the city council and the city itself can set that tone. And there's this belief that, you know, everybody sees the world through their own eyes, and they have their own perspective, and they have their own beliefs, and they have their own experiences that shape them. I can tell you that our intention is not to pull somebody else down in order to push somebody else up. And frankly, I don't understand it. I don't understand where that mentality comes from, and I don't understand that argument whatsoever. This is not about pulling other people down. It's about showcasing that the city of Sterling Heights is trying to be inclusive, welcoming, and opening to all people of all different ethnicities and all different backgrounds. Sir, I happen to be a straight white male. And let me tell you, I don't know if your experience is different than mine, but I mean, doors open, wide open for me. There's nothing in my way, okay? There's nothing standing in my way. The straight white male, no, I've got the floor. The straight white male experience is about as good as it gets in the United States in 2024. There ain't nothing standing in my way of doing absolutely anything I want at any given time. I am never treated differently because of my skin color, because of my race, because of my gender, because of my sexual orientation. I'm sorry, you're not talking now. I am. Then good, you can leave. So, respectfully, I don't quite understand this mentality that the straight white male is somehow the minority or the underdog. It just ain't the truth. So we're not pulling people down. We're trying to raise all ships. And I think it's interesting, the perspective from some of the individuals who spoke here today, which is that I think it's easy for Christian people to take for granted that, you know, as it was pointed out, God is on money. You put your hand on the Bible when you swear an oath. Christian symbolism is everywhere. Days off. We have holidays for Christians. You know, now, how would a Christian person feel if somebody from a different culture came and said, why are you pushing me down to lift yourself up so that you can have Christmas off? Why do you have to push me down? No Christian person would say, whoa, wait a second, I'm not pushing you down. That has nothing to do with pushing you down to lift myself up. And the same is true, I think, of the LGBTQ flag. We are not disrespecting any other person. We're not disrespecting any other group. We are showing that to marginalized groups, we want to be welcoming, open, and inclusive. And it was interesting hearing from a group that identifies itself that way. So I want to thank all the speakers tonight. I appreciate all of you. And I don't have anything else, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported. No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Go Red Wings.
Go Red Wings.